The brand new Solo Leveling Arise game is absolutely amazing. I've got to say, it's my favorite game out right now, and I've been enjoying it all the time. I can't stop playing it. I really can't. I'll play on PC, then on I leave, I'm going to go play on my phone. I can't stop playing. But one thing I've noticed is that there is a lot of things that could be traps or problems for players, particularly those that are going to start after me. So if you guys are interested, today's video is all about some tips that I can give you guys. And I want to open the floor as well. So to anybody watching this video that's a veteran, please post down below what is one tip that you would recommend for new players or any other player, whether they're new or just somebody else, something that's useful for you as a tip. And I want to start off with this. So this is more important if you're going to be somebody that's a free player, or at the bare minimum, if you're not a whale, maybe you're like a very, very light spender, things like that, right? But mainly for free to play. And if you're gonna play this game free to play, the most important thing I can tell you is be patient. Now, you've probably heard that, you probably know that from your experience with other gacha games as well, but this game is designed to be something that takes you a while. It's also designed to be something that is also semi-idle as well. That's why they have this system here, which passively gets better and better as Jinwoo gets to higher levels as well. But you're going to notice that you're going to run into a couple of roadblocks. This game has a massive bottleneck when it comes to gold. Gold is going to be super hard to come by, right? And experience is a hard resource to come by too. Although it's in a number of places, it's a hard one too because it just sometimes takes time to do. So the most important thing is be patient and work through things as they come. Now, I talked about the bottleneck around gold. Excuse me. And so to elaborate on that a little bit, what I would like to tell you as my next tip is be cautious with how much gold you're investing into things that may matter, but maybe it's a little bit win more versus, you know, something that could have been, that gold could have been better used on. For example, the reason why gold is hard to come by is because it's used for every freaking thing in the game. If I were to advance Bake here, whoa, look, there's 8k gold. It goes up and up and up. Obviously, you guys aren't dealing with this, right, for him as a specific character. But maybe some of these SR characters, you want to advance them. Like, I can do this here. Do I want to spend 10k gold? I'm not really sure. Well, let's talk about leveling. Well, it doesn't use any sort of, like, training item or anything like that, but it does use a crap ton of gold. Look at that, 37k. These numbers start adding up a lot. That's not all, though. When you come to character skill level ups, again, when you're leveling up their skills, and each character has a set number of skills. Also, Jinwoo has all this same stuff too, even though he's not on this page in this section. You would talk about artifacts and equipment as you work on enhancing these things. Again, gold pops up freaking everywhere. So gold winds up being something that is super hard to come by because most of the time it is in finite amounts. Now, there are tricks you can do to get more gold. It's typically around completing more content, other side game modes that you may or may not have completed, like Battlefield of Trial has some good one-time drops there. Also selling artifacts you don't need, things like that. But that's for a different discussion. But my point is be careful. So what I would recommend when it comes to that is work on your main team, okay? Work on your main team. But you see, don't do what I've done. I've got more stuff over invested because I'm somebody that wanted to test out a lot of characters, see how I like them, things like that. And that's fair, you know, as a mindset, but I'm also not a free player. I'm not a crazy whale, but I'm not a free player either. But nonetheless, don't do what I did. If you get a bunch of SSR characters, fine, feel free to level them up. Don't worry too much about these SRs, things like that. What I will tell you is that some of these SRs, like Jinwoo or Song, or even Kim, if you had him, they're going to be characters that the game's going to make you use. And I'm pretty sure they'll use, if you have the character, it will use your copy of the character first. So maybe if you're struggling with some of those story stages, if I'm correct anyway, correct me if I'm mistaken, then you could invest a little bit, but again, I wouldn't really do that. So work on your main 3 characters or so. Now, where this gets a little tricky is you'll hit some content types that'll say, make sure you have these requirements met to complete the missions, or you can hit content that's kind of hard to do if you don't have the right element characters. So that's another element of it too. But generally what I've experienced though is that if you have a team of SSRs or stronger characters with limit breaks or whatever the case is, 1 SSR, 2 SSRs, whatever, you can generally clear with type neutral damage and stuff like that. You don't have to worry too much about it, particularly if you have a breaker on your team, something like Bake So be cautious with that. And also, like, weapons, same deal. I wouldn't really work on too much, like, especially like for Jinwoo. I wouldn't worry too much about these SR weapons at all, really. Now, I will tell you, some of these SR weapons, if you can get them really high limit breaks, they start getting really strong with the effects to where they can rival some of these other ones that probably are going to be harder. Well, I know they are, but you probably don't have limit breaks in. Like this one here, it's dependent on having more limit breaks because its passive by default isn't great. It gets much better with even one extra advancement in it. So some of these will be better, but I wouldn't worry too much about them in terms of leveling these up all too much or advancing them and all those things, because again, it does wind up being a gold resource. So the point is to try to find stuff that you are trying to use and minimize the amount of resource investment, you know, because you need to be patient with the gold resource. And again, that is the single biggest bottleneck in the entire game. Now, I talked about another big bottleneck or problem, and that one is actually experience. So throughout the story, I think in chapter 6 is when you start running into the roadblocks. I'm pretty sure it's chapter 6. But what happens is, somewhere in here, I need to go back and clear these again. But somewhere in here, maybe it's for the Kang fight, actually. I think that's the first one. Somewhere in here, you start hitting the roadblock where it's like, okay, reach a certain level. I don't know what the condition was here. Maybe it was like level 22, I think it was, something like that. But they start hitting that. And then they do it in pretty much all the chapters after that. Like, reach level 31, things like that, to play the next stage. And so you start hitting a roadblock with being able to proceed. And then from there, your options are as follows. You can go back and complete the previous stages if you didn't do any like side chapters and stuff like that, which by the way, I recommend you do. In fact, I would recommend you complete the side chapters as they pop up. Don't just focus on the main storyline and then ignore the side chapters. Do them as they pop up. Like this one just popped up for me because also sometimes there's going to be double, apparently. I didn't know that. But do them as they pop up so you don't have to backtrack. And I mean, it doesn't really matter all that much, but I would just recommend personally doing it as you go, because you will get a decent amount of experience from these stages as well. Nothing really compares to the drops of experience you get here, especially if you're a free player. Again, it's a one-time thing. You can't say, I want to just go grind versus Igris and play him repeatedly to level up. That's not how this game works. It's just a one-time thing. But the payoff is massive because the level increases in Jinwoo are really strong. We're going to talk about Jinwoo in a second. But outside of that, if you're running into trouble with leveling up Jinwoo, you can also move over to the dungeons. Now, the dungeons is going to be the second most, I don't want to say second most reliable, but because really the next most reliable is the activity funds. I guess we'll talk about it because I'm right. Now, I've got the little pack here that gives 30% extra. This pack is actually pretty insane. If there's one thing I would recommend, like a light spender buy, it's the pack for this, because it just generates a ton of value. And again, the rewards get better as you go up. As you see here, I'm getting bonus time, bonus, all that stuff. I'm getting extra rewards just for buying that one pack. And this happens every time I claim this. And so obviously this experience these numbers get higher as I wait longer, obviously, but that adds up over time, right? That's a lot of resource value. Also, there's gold there too, some other stuff that you obviously are going to need. And we go ahead and move over to the dungeons, because dungeons are extremely relevant. They're one of the next most important things. So as you mine more here, you're going to, as you complete them, increase your mining level. And so you're going to get, as you see here, more rewards, more gold. The next one for me is going to be more gold, so that's nice. Mining time going down, various other benefits as you proceed with more mining. So make sure that you're pretty much never in a position where you're not able to mine any dungeons. You want to always have this going. Now we go to the gates. You have a few benefits here that are really good. So for experience, the first thing that happens is on your first okay, it's not going to show me it here. On your first 3 clears, you get heaps of drops of experience for Jinwoo. So actually, I think it's 9, right? It's 9. No, it's 3. Yeah, 3. So every 3 stages, you will get the drops here. And then also when it resets, when it's done giving you the 3 drops for experience for Jinwoo, it will then try to give you the gold. So that's another means to getting both resources. And also, playing gates is nice too, because you'll get all this stuff as well. You're going to get some gold, you get some experience, you'll get reputation, which is important too, but not really. It's not the most important thing, but you'll get those too. Also, as you progress here, you'll start coming across harder dungeons, which will offer various other rewards, or the same rewards in higher quantity. So make sure that you are always running dungeons. Make sure, in fact, I need to run these 2 keys right now because this is about to reset, I think. Make sure you're always running dungeons. Make sure that you always have mining going. Make sure that you have these things that you're completing, because again, like I mentioned earlier, the game does have some idle elements to it. And those are some of the biggest tips that I can recommend when it comes to this game. Now, with Jinwoo specifically, this is where we're going to kind of go. By the way, I think I might go back to saying Jinwoo because it just sounds better to me like that. But somebody told me that, and I noticed they were doing it in the dub for this game, that the W is just pronounced ooh. So I've been trying to be courteous to that, but I really like saying woo. Anyway, sorry if that was bothering you. So with him, by the way, gold is annoying as hell, dude. If I wanted to reset here, and I've already reset a few times, this number just keeps climbing. It just keeps, for you, for your first time, I think it was 12K. It just keeps going up and up and up and up and up. Dude, gold is such a, oh my God, bro. And it also costs gold, by the way, to, I think, unequip artifacts. Just like little stuff like that. I can't stress enough how important it is. And I think unequipping weapons too, right? No, it doesn't here. Okay. I can't stress enough how important it is to make sure that you are just being cautious with your gold. So with Jinwoo, as you level up, you're going to get the increased stats. Obviously, you will also hit different benchmarks. Like you'll be able to do these job changes, and then you'll get stronger as you go. Obtain stat points, total power increases, blah, blah, blah. You get new costumes and new abilities. Yay. But he gets stronger progressively. But you also are going to be getting, as you complete those, as you level up, you're going to also be getting these stat increases. Now, this is your level of customization. I have a sneaky suspicion, we're not there yet, obviously. I have a sneaky suspicion that ultimately we're going to get to like level, I think the max level was like 2000 in the series that he got to or something like that. I think we're going to hit that level at, it's going to take like forever, but I think we're going to get there and we're all going to have like the same distribution on this stuff because it's just going to make us like, say like the max attack is like 1000. It's not going to be, but say it is, then you'll have to invest your points elsewhere. So that's my sneaky suspicion. But for now, this is what I like on him a lot. I really, really like these three stats primarily. Attack, or strength, agility, and perception. In the game, perception is precision. It means that you are going to be doing, the minimum damage you'll do is more. So you'll do more minimum damage to the opponent. So that's really good. So you're not going to have those really, really weak hits, which with critical attack focus, there's a lot of variance. Some of the hits are going to be crits, and they're going to do a crap ton of damage, particularly if you have a very high critical damage stat. And then some of them aren't going to be, and they're going to do nothing, right? Now, you can offset that by hitting so many times with some of his weapons and things like that, some of his skills. He's going to just hit so many times that it offsets it. But I really like precision. As you see, enhances your perception to increase your precision. As your precision increases, your minimum damage dealt to the enemies increases. So I like that one a lot. It's an underrated one. I actually don't know that you need to invest much at all into defense here. Now, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with this. But if you are good at doing the dodges and shadow steps, blah, 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 you don't really necessarily ever get hit all that much. You may get hit a couple times, and the game also has a built-in safety net with the one-time full recovery on the stages too. In fact, I'm not sure if it was a full recovery the last time I did. I think I came back with 1 life. I'm not sure what that was about, but anyway, whatever. The game has like a built-in safety net with that too. And also I have some healers on my stuff, so like I'm not really like, I don't really find myself needing this. But there's nothing wrong with it if you like to build into it. I just think that the safety net for the stuff I talked about and the dodge is like super duper strong because it transitions to being more combos, more damage. So you're always on the offensive. There's no guard in this game, for example. This is an offense mash game. There's no guard or anything like that. As far as I can tell you. Okay, I can't say there isn't because there is that one sword that has like a counter, but there's no like actual guard button to ignore damage. So anyway, unless I'm just totally missing something. So anyway, I like that. I like intelligence too, by the way, for the cooldown reduction. That one's really nice. Also more MP. The MP drain isn't as massive unless you're using like the grimoires or more magic based stuff. From what I've seen, they start draining MP a lot, but it comes back as you're on the offensive again. So again, not really as crazy. So I really, really like strength, obviously, so you're doing more damage by default. Perception to increase your minimum damage. And then also agility, so you do more criticals and then the crits will hit harder. And then with that, I really liked, and this is not anywhere near what it can ultimately be, I really like this critical set, but this is also just the way I chose to build Jinwoo. There's so many other artifact sets and things you can do, but for somebody had asked me like what is the best like stat spread, and that's my opinion on that. I don't really go as heavily into the other two, but I really like the top 3 that I mentioned. Now, to kind of end the video on this, what I'll say also is when it comes to gacha drawing, make sure that you are not converting your gems too much into tickets here in the early game, because these black tickets for the select draw are extremely easy to come by. They are so easy to come by, it's not worth it. And if you want to know more about the best locations to get all of the resources, new tickets, soul essence, all that, then you are definitely going to want to click the video on your screen currently.